Alright, this is part 2 of my OpenClaw version 2 build. So today was mostly about giving my bot structure, memory rules, usage tracking, and then access to Notion, Google Workspace. So things like Google Docs, Google Sheets, Gmail, Google Drive, all that. This first part was about auto-syncing the config files. I didn't want to have to manually do it every single time, so we added the auto-sync rules to the main config files. And the important part is that the bot can't just and won't just randomly rewrite its memory or project files on its own. It has to kind of show me the proposed change, what it's doing, why it's doing it, and then wait for my approval. Obviously creating a backup first, but there's a full structure of how it's updating things, why it's updating things, and where they go. That was the whole point of the initial part of this part of the build. So I basically just started off by asking where it can read files, so like what folder things were in. So I found the folder, and then I just started moving things into the workspace, all these files which I worked on last video. And then we talked about how we want to set it up. So it basically went through its structure, how it decides where things go, the flow, and it kind of told me what I need to do. So basically I brain dump, and then the agent creates and updates memory with the year, the month, the day. I share a new idea, it adds it to projects. Every few days it reviews daily files, extracts patterns, updates memory, and then the config files it only touches when I explicitly say so. So it'll ask for permission to update it, and then I'll either approve or deny it. Next, I asked it to create the memory file folder for today's file. So basically it created the file, updated with the date, and told me how to use it. So that's basically what this document's saying, kind of goes through my process for setting this all up. One last question I had for it was, how will you verify what is a new idea or a note to go into the daily memory file? I basically said we don't want every single thing going in there. Should I tell you new idea, new note, blah, blah, blah. So it talked about how it automatically logs things. So note confirmation needed, decisions made, plans agreed on, blocks identified, significant context, session milestones, things like that. And then there's certain things that it logs when I signal it. So new idea, note, remember, update memory, things like that are keywords for it. Obviously it doesn't log casual conversations, acknowledgements, temporary troubleshooting. It actually created its own rule of thumb, which is cool. So if it's worth remembering next week, it gets logged. If it's just today's conversation, part of the flow, it doesn't. Again, I asked it to create today's file. I'm going to compact and then restart. I wanted to make sure it had everything so that when I compacted and restarted, it had everything. So great, got everything updated, and then we moved on to the Notion. So this was a little bit out of order. This autosync was actually the second step. Notion was after this. We kind of did it all at the same time, but the autosync config files was basically the important part so that the bot couldn't just randomly rewrite memory project files on its own. We wanted it to be able to update them, but let me know the proposed change, kind of wait for my approval, make sure we had a structure going forward. So we had a set structure that it was going to do each and every time. The auto config file is kind of what we did, why we did it. Without guardrails, Dillbot could overwrite important config files or clutter them with unnecessary additions. These rules keep the files clean and give you full control. So next was the Notion integration. This was kind of the most important part of getting the initial bot set up. I wanted the Notion pages so that it could keep track of things that we're working on. Right now this is my agent. It's not necessarily working on crazy automation projects or anything. It's really just so I can keep track of my ideas, my notes, my to-dos, ideas I have for the future, things that are archived, all those things. So I wanted to be able to text the bot via Telegram, and it organizes all my notes and all my thoughts and all my ideas in one place. So we connected the Notion workspace down here. Basically gave me a couple options. We ended up going with the MCP. It was just a little bit easier. I'll cover that, and it didn't take 2 to 3 hours. It took maybe 30 minutes. And that's because I don't necessarily know what I'm doing. But I was talking to Claude on the side, asking it about Notion MCP, adding it to OpenClaw. So at the end of the day, I got Notion connected to the OpenClaw. I didn't use the APIs. I used the MCP because I guess OpenClaw doesn't have a specific Notion skill. So the easiest way I found was adding Notion MCP to the OpenClaw config. So really you can just ask it, I'll go over this later, why it's sending me all these fucking messages, which it was really pissing me off. So later down the chat, I told it, not to send me all this filler background stuff, but we can get to that after. One important part to note was I had to use the MCP locally. I don't know exactly why, but I was talking with Claude and the bot, and we had to set up the MCP locally so it stayed on my computer. Let's verify it's actually running. Config looks good. Check recent logs. I mean, I don't need to show you guys all this. You'll figure it out as you go through, but eventually it was able to get in and see all the pages. It said perfect connection works, and we were all good. The last thing was that it couldn't create actual Notion pages, so I have to create the pages and then give it access to the pages, which is fine. It's not a big deal. I just created like 4 or 5 pages at once, shared it to the agent, and then had it, start building everything out with those 5 pages. I told it to let me know if it needed more than, the 5 pages I gave it initially. It suggested a structure, so, 1 page was an idea bank, then active projects, notes, brain dump, all that sort of stuff. I told it to pause for now because I wanted to get the rest of it set up, but it was good to know that it had access to all the pages and could edit them and put in all of my notes and get everything up and running. I just told it to hold off for now. Then I compacted and created a new session because the chat was getting long. That's what I learned with my old agent. I never compacted it, and that's what really slows it down. So here's an important part that I wanted to talk about that isn't in this document that I made. It was sending me every sort of message, everything it was doing on the back end, and I didn't want that. I didn't need to be spammed with messages. So what I wrote, I said, add this rule permanently to identity. Never narrate back-end steps, internal checks, or what you're about to do. Work silently, only message me in these situations. 1, you need a decision or input from me. 2, a task is fully complete. Report the result only. 3, something failed. So this is going to save a lot of token usage at the end of the day, so it doesn't have to go read through the chat, and it saves my sanity because I don't want to be scrolling through hundreds and hundreds of Telegram messages every single day for shit that it's working on in the background. Next, we set up the token usage and monitoring. So I'm only using Olama Cloud, so it's pretty easy. I basically just told it that I wanted it to check and let me know when it hits 80%. Now, Olama doesn't have its own API yet, so this isn't necessarily exactly accurate. I know it's been requested and Olama's working on it, but I sent it a screenshot of where I was currently at, and then it's going to track all of our token usages throughout the conversation and send me a message when it thinks we're around 80%. So it'll remind me that maybe I need to slow down or maybe I need to buy some more credits, but it'll let me know when I'm getting close to that usage, so I don't have to go in and check Olama Cloud every single day. Now, eventually, when I connect ChatGPT and Claude Anthropic, it'll be able to monitor the exact token usage. But for now, I'm only using those 2. I want a very simple setup for now. I'm using ChatGPT and Claude on the side, so this is fine for now. Lastly was the Google Suite installation. This was the last thing that was super important for me to get done, fairly early in this build. I wanted it to have access to Notion, and I wanted it to have access to Google Docs so it could add stuff from the Google Docs into there. Because right now all my Google Docs are all over the place. Even Excel spreadsheets to keep track of things, Google Drive, all that. This was important to get set up before I added any other skills or tools or anything else. Basically just told it to download the GOG skill, had it walk me through it, gave me these steps, asked me to download the JSON file, the email I was going to use, and then boom, found 20 Google Docs in your drive. Here are the key ones. It says GOG is working. Want me to read any of these docs or start building the Notion Hub structure? I basically said hold off for now. We're going to put a pin in it for today. I'm working on some other things. I'm working on building an app right now, which I would like to post eventually pretty soon, a build or maybe a mock build kind of showing how I'm doing it. But for now, I just wanted to get a simple agent set up that could help me keep track of all my thoughts and ideas so I don't have hundreds of Google Docs and filling up my Apple Notes all the time. So I know this was pretty quick. This was kind of a boring part of the build. Part 3 is going to be a lot more interesting. It's going to be downloading all the skills and all the tools I'm using, kind of what I'll be using them for. By the end of that, the bot will start to be autonomous at that point. Right now it can be autonomous with Notion stuff and things in the Google Doc, keeping track of again, the important stuff that I want, day-to-day tasks, notes, to-dos, which is the most important thing for now, but once we download the other skills and tools, then it'll be fully autonomous and can start working on other projects. So part 3 will be a little bit more interesting.